What creative idea excites you the most?
The combination of science and photography. I've always, I went to school for agronomy and golf course, so that was very science-based. I've always been interested in science, and I think that combination of the two is wonderful. So whether it is timing two drops to collide to one another and creating these microscopic collisions, and capturing that on frame, I I have a blast doing that. I enjoy teaching that. To learning more about weather and photographing the science of weather. So I always try and incorporate some sort of science within my photography, and I think it's a wonderful learning tool, and makes it interesting every time you go out and photograph to think about the world around us.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Colorful Conversations. Today, we're speaking with Calibrite Ambassador Nick Sinnott. I look forward to learning more about him, and I hope that you guys get to also. Hello, Nick. How you doing today?
Good. Thanks so much, Matt.
It's a pleasure to have you. Let's jump right in. First question, coffee, tea, or something else?
100% coffee. I am up every morning at 3 a.m. I go out shooting every morning, so I really love coming home after a good shoot, having a cup of coffee, even so much that my wife recently for my birthday purchased me the world coffee. So every month I get a coffee from a different place.
That's amazing. I'm a bit of a coffee freak myself, but you go out shooting every morning.
Yes. It's my therapy. Some people get up, work out. I get up and I live in wonderful areas, so I'm able to go out, take some great pictures, and just get out and clear the mind before the start of the day.
And how long have you been doing that?
I started photography probably about 13 years ago. Previously, I was in golf course construction and management. Did that for 25 years of my life, and got into photography about 13 years ago.
So you've been shooting every morning for 13 years.
Pretty close. I mean, some mornings, obviously not every morning, but it's what I do. And especially now that we have a dog, our dog loves it. The dog now wakes me up and gets me ready. Okay, all right, let's go walking. Let's go photographing.
Are you a photographer, a filmmaker, or both?
I am a photographer. Would love to continue my education on videography, but certainly currently a photographer.
For whom do you make your art?
100% myself. However, I utilize all of the photography for education purposes. I am not looking to sell my photography. I consider myself an educator more than a photographer. I enjoy going out and thinking of different concepts that I can teach my students, and then capture that and then get that to translate into an educational, whether it be a lecture or whether it be a workshop on editing. So that is, in a roundabout way, every morning for the therapy, but in the result for my students.
That's wonderful. While you're making photography primarily for the basis of your education practice, what do you get out of it?
So I get the joy of seeing other students' light bulbs go off. When they start understanding what they're creating from my lectures, that's joy to me. And I get so much satisfaction when they see the light bulb and they get out and create their own work. That's what I get out of photography.
And conversely, what do your students get out of your practice?
I hope that they see the joy of photography. They see that they can really go out and experiment and not be afraid to fail, right? I never want our students to be afraid to fail, because you learn so much from failing in photography and going back and seeing what went wrong and going out the next day or going out the next morning to reproduce. So I hope that my students learn from my failures and my successes.
What is your favorite color or color combination, and how do you go about including it in your work?
I would say the favorite color or color combo is probably blue and yellow. And I think that that is just due from photographing in the mornings. You're photographing the blue hours and the golden hours in the mornings. So that color combo somehow always finds its way into my photographs, especially on the cityscape side. I incorporate that as well into macros.
If you could be anywhere right now, where would it be and what would you be doing?
I would have to say I had the wonderful experience of visiting the Mara and in Africa this past year. Certainly, at this point, I would be there with my family again. I think that I had the opportunity to take my entire family, photograph on a photography trip, photographing the safaris and the culture in the Mara, and I would, in a heartbeat, go there again with my family and spend as much time as possible, because the education that my children and the photography is amazing there.
How many members of your family are also photographers?
0.
But they enjoy the trips.
But they got more out of it than they anticipated. Just learning about the culture. I think for my younger children, learning about the world, and it's just not the United States or the Western region. Now they're learning more about the culture and the circle of life. That's super important.
Is there a second place that you would love to be?
Somewhere cold. Even though my family would not join me on that one, I think for photography purposes, I love the colder, the better. Visited Iceland earlier this spring. I live in Chicago, so when we have a horribly cold winter, I'm in love. That's my playtime. So any place that is frigid cold and has wonderful, beautiful winter landscapes, I'd love to be.
Describe the aha moment when you realized it was essential to establish your color workflow. What steps did you take, and how often?
When I started off photography, probably 3 years into it, began photographing interiors, did a lot of interior real estate work, and then, novice, you're not thinking about white balance, you're not thinking about color, and then when you're starting to look at your images and trying to edit, it just didn't look right. And the aha moment was when I had an instructor and a mentor talk to me about the color checker passport. Immediately, that, in a minute, in literally a minute, my life changed as a photographer, and how I could see color and reproduce that exact color. That was one of the largest changes that I'll always remember, and I'll always advocate to all my students. Is the difference was groundbreaking.
Outside of using a color checker, are there any other steps that you take in your color management workflow?
All the way through. So I am a big printer at our school. We advocate a lot of printing. So we are teaching, and I utilize everything from capture to screen calibration to print calibration, so that what you capture, you can represent on print. And I think that is very important to go from capture to print, all utilizing getting that neutral color and getting the exact color that you can reproduce.
And what hardware are you currently using to achieve those things?
So I'm using the HL monitor calibrator, and we currently, personally, I have 2 different monitors, so I'm certainly always needing that calibration to be even on the 2 different monitors. But school-wise, we have 20 different monitors. So I want all the students to reproduce that same thing that I see and that they see.
Making sure that they're all the same brightness and contrast and color. That's vital, extraordinary.
Yes, especially when you're printing.
When it comes to the printing part of what you guys do in the school and personally, what steps do you take for your color management workflow?
When we're starting to print, we always use ICC profiles and the correct ICC profiles. If we need to create our own ICC profiles on some of the papers, we will. And we use the calibration devices too. create ICC profiles on print. But I believe that when you actually hold your image that you have worked on, it is a different experience. I think that every photographer, whether you're a hobbyist, whether you're professional, whether you're a novice, should print your images, at least some of your images, because it's a completely different feel and you get a different appreciation of your work and of others' work by holding it, by looking at it physically. So I think it's vital to make sure that the color is accurate and as accurate as possible on the different types of paper.
And I can see it come through in your work, which I admire. That's wonderful. This is one of my favorite questions. If you could give an elevator pitch to your 20-year-old self, what would it be?
Get out and experiment to do different things. Don't lock yourself into one thing. Go experiment. Go see the world. Go take some time for yourself and figure out something, a hobby. Don't put blinders on and think of one thing only.
Sage, what question are you asked the most by aspiring creatives?
What happened to my photos in Lightroom and why are they missing? That's gotta be the number one question I get asked, is why do I see my photos, but I can't do anything with them in Lightroom? I love Lightroom. I think it is probably one of the best organizational tools out there, but as a amateur photographer, as a novice trying to learn Lightroom, it can be very frustrating. I love working with students and giving them that aha moment, going, oh, that makes sense. I moved it outside of Lightroom, and that's why it's missing. So that's the number one question I get.
You can tell by my reaction that I am empathizing with everybody who's had that experience.
We've all had it.
Yes.
We were all there one time.
I've done it many times. What skill are you developing or furthering right now?
I think the skill that I'm always developing is certainly photography, but to be more precise, right now I'm currently working on mastering printing, and that is way more difficult than I ever thought it would be. My current project to kind of challenge myself is printing on a handmade Japanese paper. So that's a whole nother challenge because you're dealing with no ICC profiles available. Color management has to be precise, and the reproduction to get that color is a challenge. So I'm really enjoying that challenge, and that's what my current project is.
That sounds fascinating. But that sort of dovetails into our last question, which is, where can people see more of your work?
People can see my work on my website at nicksennettphotography.com, my Instagram at nick.sennett, or our classes at chicagophotoclasses.com.
So tell me more about your school. Is this in person? Is it virtual? Is it both? Tell me more.
So it is both. It is a school based on the north side of Chicago. We have physical space, about 10,000 square feet of physical space, divided up into 3 large lecture rooms and 2 large digital labs, including all Mac and PC computers, all calibrated to Epson printers. So we have 15 P5000s, P7000s, and P9000 printers at the school that we teach. And all of the classes, we typically have about 25 or 30 classes that we offer, everything from very beginners to advanced photography. And we offer most of those classes, not all classes, in combination to online as well.
Well, it sounds successful, and I'm sure that your students enjoy working with you.
It's successful because of the students and because of the staff that is involved. I'm merely along for the ride.
Well, Nick, it's been a real pleasure getting to know you. I'm sure that the viewers feel the same way. If you're interested, please visit Nick's website and social media accounts to learn more about him and to engage with him. Say hello. Thank you so much for your time, Nick. I hope to bump into you out in the field someday, as
Certainly.
we both like to shoot in similar places. So
Certainly. Well, thank you, Matt, and thank you, Calibrite, for giving me this opportunity.
thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you at the next episode of Colorful Conversations. Take care.
Thank you.